Hello, this is Yayoi Komiyama from Brain to Belly, and welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Welcome to Brain to Belly. Today I have a special guest who we've been trying to get her on this show for a couple of months now. Her name is Sandra Adler, and she is an Amazon best-selling author of a book, and she has also just started releasing an encyclopedia for kids. So, Sandra, welcome to the show, and we're happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Yayoi. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I'm so happy you're here because as I know, we've been trying to get you on the show for a few months now, and you're on, and I am just thrilled to have you here. Now, Sandra, you are a doctor and you have been an educator most of your life. Could you tell our viewers a little bit about your history and about your books? And yes, we would love to hear a little bit about that and about you. So please.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Well, I'm retired. I'm a retired school teacher and school counselor, and I've been a spiritual consultant for 48 years, and I continue to do that. But now that I'm retired, I'm doing more things than I ever did when I was working. I'm so busy. I'm painting now. You can see my paintings in the background. I'm acting in a play in the
Oh,
local Tampa Bay area here in Florida.
wow.
I'm writing books, and the most exciting thing for me is being able to put together all my experiences with working with children and my spiritual information, my spiritual wisdom, my spiritual experiences, and put them together in books to pass it on to the world. And my very first book came out last year, and it's called Saturdays at Kieran's Meeting the Edifiers. And it's a book for pre-teens, teenagers, and it's a book with all the solutions to the problems that these kids are having now. Thinking about suicide, which is a huge epidemic, bullying, which leads to the wanting to commit suicide, um, cultural and racial um, inequalities, gangs, drugs, low self esteem. I mean, these kids are faced with a lot of situations that
Yeah.
need solutions.
Yes.
So, in the book, Kieran, um, Saturdays at Kieran's, the kids meet at Kieran's house every Saturday, and there's two African American, two Asian American, two Latinos, one Jewish kid, one LGBTQ kid, one bully, one Native American. And they meet every Saturday at Kieran's and they talk about all this stuff. And she is from India and she's learned all her information from Mahatma Gandhi. And she's a very spiritual young girl and she's trying to make friends, so she's helping them with solutions so that they can realize who they are, why they're here, where they came from, and where they're going, because they are all souls in physical bodies
Yes.
here on this planet to do their life purpose And everybody has a life purpose,
Yes,
and no two people have the same life purpose.
exactly.
Each child, each person on this planet is unique.
Yes,
Every single person is important, importante,
yes,
important, because if they don't do what they've come to do, it just doesn't get done.
yes,
So
yes,
that's how important everybody is. So she shares a lot of this wisdom with them to help them feel great about themselves, not wanting to commit suicide,
yes,
and ignoring the bullies, and because she understands what they're going through,
yes.
and so on and so forth. And it became an Amazon bestseller December 2023. And it is
Congratulations.
my first book in that Kieran series, because I have many more coming up.
Yes.
And did you want to share something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I believe that the premise is also that Kieran is going to help. She had invited all of her friends to come to her house on Saturday so that they can work on a school project. And that's when they started talking about all of these, about bullying, about the diversity and all of that. And that's where she started saying, "Oh, let me talk to them and figure out how this all works, how the world works with them." So I just wanted to add that little piece in.
Oh, well, you are so right, because how in the heck did they get to Kieran's house in the first place?
Yes,
You're right. Well, it happened in school, and the teacher said that she wanted everybody to write a poem
yes,
about themselves, and they had 2 weeks to get it done. And then that poem would introduce them to the other classmates and to her.
yes,
And so that's when the kids were moaning and groaning, and they said they didn't know how to write a poem. And some of them said, I don't know how to even write English. And so that's when she invited them to her
yes,
house.
yes,
She said, I anybody that wants help with your poem, come to my house on Saturday.
yes,
And that's how it all started. And so the 10 of them showed up, and her mom served papadums, an Indian snack, and the kids liked it. And so when they were working on their poem, that's
yes,
when all this stuff came out. Yes,
yes,
you are so right. Thank you
yes.
for saying that.
Yes. Yes, I just wanted to add that because viewers might be like, "What? Why are they all at this person's house?" So, yes, I just wanted to put that in there. And so, I congratulations on it becoming a bestseller, and it really is a like a good. I guess everything came together for you as an educator of children and your spirituality to all kind of mesh into this book, and it's a great way to, especially for your passion, to educate children on what is really going on. And it's a way for them to kind of navigate all the tricky situations in their life. Now, I also, I know that I already also bought the book, if I could find it. Oh, here it is. I bought this book, Sandra's next book in this, not in this series, but it's a different series. Now, Sandra, I know that you started an encyclopedia for children. So, about me and my world, I think it was Me and My Universe is the title of the series. It's an encyclopedia for children. And I know the first book in it is My Body. And yes. Yes, we both have it. Yes, it's volume one is My Body. And I kind of wanted to talk about that. Yes, it's your first book. And I know it came out of Kieran and her group. And so what was, let's see, how did you come up with the idea to have this encyclopedia for children?
Well, I spent 20 years traveling around the world 4 times, giving lectures, seminars, workshops, and private counseling sessions to people based on a spiritual program that I was involved in.
Yes.
And I shared um, 12 different subjects, starting with my body. And then the second was The Real Me, which is my second book in that series,
Yes.
because that's the soul that
Yes.
lives in the body,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. So I decided, well, it wasn't really, well, I guess I decided because I was in um, Calgary or um, Alberta, Canada,
Yes.
and I had it was, it was about 2001, and I was giving lectures, and there was always an article in the paper that I was coming to town, and I was in Lethbridge, and so many people showed up that there weren't enough seats and there wasn't enough room. They had to stand up in the back and stand at the doorways, and it was crowded. And I shared with them all this stuff about their spiritual life, why we're here on planet Earth, and what life is all about, and how to have inner peace.
Yes.
And then at the end, I said, anybody that wants a private consultation, I'm available. You sign up on the table at the back. Well, more people signed up than I had hours. So I called Calgary and I said, anybody come and help me is trained how to do this work. And they said, oh, it's 3 hour drive. Anyway, I had every week I went to a different city, and I had been doing that for 20 years.
Wow.
So the next city was Medicine Hat, Alberta. So I went there, and they had another nice article in the paper, and more people showed up.
Wonderful.
And I was like overwhelmed. I gave them a lecture. I told them I could do private consultations. And so many people signed up for that help. I said to my angels, I said, help. I'm overwhelmed. I'm burned out. I can't do this anymore. And they said to me, you will never reach all the people that need to hear this information by going from one city to the next city every week for the rest of your life. And I said, oh my God, what do I do? And they said, write a book. So that's how this all started.
Yes. Yes.
So that was in 2001. So
Wow.
I wrote a book. And I don't think I wrote the books. I think my angels wrote the books. I think I was just a channel
Yes.
because the books are in poetry form, like a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
Yes.
And they're for children, little children, like just beginning to read, or for parents and grandparents who like to read to their children before they go to bed at night.
Yes.
So I started writing. So the first subject I always talk about is the body, because
Yes.
that's our anchor here on planet Earth.
Yes.
Why because if we didn't have a body, we just float
Yes.
away. So because of gravity.
Yes.
And so then the next thing I always talked about was the real me. I am
Yes.
energy. I'm a
Yes.
soul living in a body. And when
Yes.
I pass on, the body stays here on planet Earth. It goes back to dust. But the
Yes.
soul is energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed. It just changes form.
Yes.
And so, you float back out to the universe. So that means that you never die. The
Yes.
person that's listening to this, the person that's talking, is never going to die. The body is going to go,
And
we're going to
transform into a
release the
different
body.
form. Yes.
Right, but the soul never
It's,
dies.
yes.
It's
Mhm.
energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed.
Yes.
So I have always been, I am right now, and I will always be
Yes.
somewhere.
Yes.
in some form.
Yes.
And so, and then I would talk about where we came from, the universe, and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. So that was going to be my third book. And then I just wrote one book for each of the subjects that I talked about to adults.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
books were for children. So that
Yes.
my thinking is I'm going to be passing on, I'm 83 now. And when I do, I don't want all this information to die with me. I want to get it out there so that even after I pass on, people can read these books and get
Yes.
spiritual wisdom. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's the purpose for all of it. And so um,
Wow.
the first one is out and
Yes.
it's My Body. The second
Yes.
one is coming out on September the 2nd,
Yes.
and it is called The Real Me. And this is the cover for it.
Yes.
It's a spiritual encyclopedia for children.
Children.
Me and my universe,
Yes.
the real me. And this book is all about the soul.
Yes.
And the third book is coming out on December the 13th, and
Yes.
it is called My Home.
Oh,
And eventually I'll have 12 of them.
yes.
And together, it's the encyclopedia,
For kids.
spiritual encyclopedia for children. It covers everything that we're here learning about, doing. It has all the answers about everything spiritual. It's non religious, it's just spiritual. And spiritual is just being loving, caring, sharing, understanding, compassionate, having empathy, non judgmental, non prejudiced, patient, loving. I mean, in the Christian religion, they call it the Christ consciousness.
Yes.
And it's just being one with all things, one with
Yes.
the rocks and one with the trees, one with the birds, one with the bees. And it's because everything is energy, everything is made up of atoms and molecules,
Yes.
scientific fact.
Yes.
And we're all a part of all of it. And so if you hurt, I feel the pain. And how I know this for sure is teaching first grade, which is the best grade, because these little kids know everything.
Yes.
And so when somebody would get hurt, the others would say, "Oh, I can feel it. I can feel on my leg." They could all feel when somebody else was hurt. And so I said, "Oh my gosh, they are one with each other." And so if something is wrong in our environment, we all can feel it.
Yes.
And, we want to do something about it.
Yes.
And all you have to do is one little thing.
Yes.
Like if you turn off the light when you leave the room, you are doing something great. So it doesn't take too much. You just have to be aware
Yes.
that you want to save our planet, you want to help each other, and you just want to be love, be love, be love.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. And I think the main thing that we tend to do here in society is that we forget as we grow older. Children remember everything. Children are so innocent. They're not tainted by what society tells them to. And I think as we get older, we forget a lot of things. And we forget that we are connected. We forget um, that we can listen to our bodies. And connecting it back to brain to belly, I think is that with children, I know in this my body thing as well, children are so at the essence of it. They know how to listen to their bodies, and especially when it comes to food. And I've noticed watching children that when they're full, they'll say, "I'm full." And it's the most beautiful thing to see, because I know so many adults or even older children that'll keep on eating because one, they may have been told, eat everything on your plate, or they keep on eating because they don't want to feel, because they don't want to feel the hurt. They don't want, it's a coping mechanism for them. Or it, in my case, when I was a baby, I would be crying, and my mother would tell the nanny, or she would just feed me because she wanted me to shut up. Right? Well, I'm not blaming my mother at all. I'm just laughing about it because I was like, oh, that's where it started, that this association that I had with food. And if I eat, I'll be quiet. I won't feel anything. So that was like my introduction into all of this not feeling. And I think as children, we know instinctively when to listen to our body, and we know instinctively what to do. Yet we tend to forget all of that because society puts so many things in our heads. And then we're like, who are we supposed to believe? And then we start doubting ourselves, which is another thing that happens when we're not listening to ourselves. And
Exactly, because
yeah,
well,
please.
zero to seven is when we are in our feelings like that, and we can
Yes,
say I'm full. And then starting 7 to 14, that cycle of life is
yes,
when we get programmed, and
yes,
our intellect gets programmed, and our intellect wants to run our life. And then the problems begin. And then we
yes,
spend the rest of our life trying to figure out and work out and heal all the stuff that's been programmed into us that's not working for us.
yes, yes,
My
exactly.
mother used to say, I would say, I'm full. And then she'd say, You don't, you want some more? I said, No, I'm full. And she says, You don't like my cooking?
Yes,
And I said, Oh, yeah, I like your cooking. She said, Would you like a second helping?
I'm full.
Well, so she instilled a feeling of guilt
Guilt. Yes,
in me.
yes.
And if I didn't like it and didn't eat some more, I wasn't going to
I
like
was,
her cooking, and it was
yes,
going to hurt her feelings. And I didn't want my mother to have hurt feelings. So I ate a second helping. And that's when the troubles started.
started. Yes, yes, I totally relate in that it wasn't my mother that said that. It was my ex-husband's grandmother. And of course, being a new wife and all this and that, I wanted to please my ex-husband and I wanted to please his grandmother. So when she said she would cook a meal for us, and it was kind of known in the family that her chicken was always dry. But I felt like I wanted to impress and I wanted them to like me. So I would eat the chicken, although it was dry. And, I would do my best to finish off what I was given. And then, of course, she goes, well, I slaved over the stove to make this for you. Don't you like it? The whole guilt thing happened. And I was like, no, 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 this is delicious. I'll take another helping. Although I'm like full. And I remember every time we left grandma and grandpa's place, I would be so full because it would be, and then she would of course bring out cookies because she went to the grocery store to buy cookies for us. And of course, if we don't eat the cookies, she'll be like very insulted. So I think all of us, have experienced something similar. And like you were saying, the guilt thing. And that's all up here in our brains. And it's when you were saying, like from 7 to 14, is when we get programmed because of society. And it's really about, and then we have to unlearn a lot of that programming when we want to connect brain to belly, basically, when we want to be able to become whole with our whole bodies and our spirit, and our bodies and spirit and soul all combining to become one, is when we have to kind of reprogram everything. So I totally relate with what you said about your mother saying, yes, so, don't you like what I made for you? And I'm sure many of us have heard that, here and
I like
there.
to
Yes. please.
I like to compare it to a computer.
Yes.
All these programs have been put into my computer,
Yes.
and so as I figure out what they are,
Yes.
I delete, delete that program, and then I input a new program that'll work for me.
Yes.
So you first have to become aware
Yes.
of
That
what
is.
it is that's not working for you,
Yes.
and then find the solution.
Yes.
And I'm putting a lot of the solutions for everything in my Kieran books. The first book is called Meeting the Edifiers, and
Yes.
those are the 11 children, Kieran and the 10 others. And then the
Hmm.
second book is called Saturdays at Kieran's, Becoming Selfless.
Yes.
And in that book, the children learn how to give without expecting anything in return. Just like little kids, they want to help
Yes.
mommy and they want to help daddy,
Yes.
and they don't ask for money or for a gift or for anything. They just want to help.
Oh. Yes.
And that is part of our innate nature. And
Yes.
so this is what they learn in the second Kieran book, is how to do for somebody else without expecting anything in return. And the reward is just how great you feel
Yes.
when you help somebody. Because
Yes.
if you're doing it for you, for the good feeling of helping another person.
Yes.
So that's a wonderful book. And then the third book, which will be coming out, is
Yes.
called Saturdays at Kieran's, Finding Forgiveness.
Beautiful.
And in this book, they learn that their mothers and fathers and grandparents and teachers have all done the very best that they knew how at that moment.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so forgiving is
Yes.
understanding that everybody is doing the best they know how all the time.
Yes.
And so they start forgiving their parents for the things that happened and their teachers and so on and so forth, and each other. So they
Yes.
get closer and bonded together. And so each book in the series, the Kieran series, is going to be another spiritual message like that.
That's
And I'm
beautiful.
so thrilled to be able to get all that out of me, out, so that it can be passed on for generations.
Yes. That's beautiful. And so you were saying we had let's see, the forgiveness part, learning. So what other, you said there were 12 edifiers? Were there 12 or
Well, there are in the other book,
books?
the
Hmm.
the other series,
Series? Yes.
Me and My
Oh,
Universe.
yes, 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 yes. That's the
Me and
one.
My Universe. There's my body, the
Hmm.
real me, my home, my balance, my intellect, my feelings, my society, confusion,
Okay.
limbo, angels, the cycles of life, and the spiritual gifts of intuition, vision, prophecy, and feeling.
Wow. Wow.
And so it's everything that we experience in life. Before you were talking about how little kids are so open
Yes.
and remember everything and are in their feelings. When I taught first grade, do we have a
Yes.
few minutes for this story?
Of course. Of course. We have plenty of time. Yes. Please.
Okay, well, I loved first grade because the kids, their intellect wasn't developed. They were
Yes.
still in their loving, caring, sharing, understanding feelings. And when you're born, everybody knows their life purpose.
Yes.
They come in with it. They come in with a team of angels to help them to accomplish it. They know everything. And then, of course, it doesn't take but a week or a year or whatever to forget all that. And then
Yes.
we have to spend the rest of our lives trying to figure it all out.
Yes.
So, but these little kids, um, if you listen to them,
Yes.
they will tell you everything.
Yes.
And I'm just going to tell you a story about Jimmy because I love Jimmy so much. Nobody wanted to have Jimmy in their class because Jimmy never stopped talking. Well, I loved Jimmy because I listened. And he said, Miss Adler, did I ever tell you about the dinosaurs? I said, oh, no, Jimmy, tell me all about it. And so he said, well, we used to play with the dinosaurs. They would put their heads in our cave in the doorway, and we would jump on their neck, and they would take us for a ride. And another little boy in the class said, oh, Jimmy, you remember the time that I went with you one time? And Jimmy says, oh, yeah, I remember. So I'm standing there thinking there were no men and dinosaurs at the same time on planet Earth, because that's what I was taught.
Right.
And because this was back in the 70s.
Okay.
And so I said to my angels, I said, is this true? What Jimmy is telling me? And they said, yes. So many years later, I saw an article in the newspaper. It said man's footprints found next to dinosaur footprints. There were men
Yes.
and dinosaurs
Yes.
at the same time on planet Earth. So Jimmy was right. My angels were right. And I think I learned more from those kids than they learned from me. And they would tell me about when I was a grown up, I used to do this and that. And when I was a, a big person, I used to be a teacher. And and they would talk and talk about their past lives.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the parents would say, oh, they just have such a good imagination. But it wasn't imagination. They were remembering
Yes.
and they were willing to talk if somebody would listen. So,
Yes.
any parents out there with small children, um, I suggest that you just say, tell me all about
Yeah.
whatever, and just listen and take the time and patience. Take
Yes.
a deep breath and just listen. Don't say anything. Don't, you can ask, well, is there anything else anymore? But just listen to those kids
Yes.
because
Yes.
once you listen to them, they will start trusting themselves. They will
Yes.
start believing in themselves. They will start loving and respecting you forever because you're a good listener
Yes.
and you're helping them to grow and mature
Yes.
because these are real experiences that they remember. It's not an imagination or, and they're also, when they talk about they're alone talking to somebody and they say, oh, I'm talking to my imaginary friends. And,
Mhm.
you know, they're really talking to their angels.
Yes.
And to accept that they are talking to somebody because their angels come in with them when they're born and they help them all their lives. And if they can trust that inner communication with that higher spirit,
Yes.
they will be successful their entire lives. So that's another suggestion.
Right.
Um, don't
And
poo poo those imaginary
right.
friends because they're certainly not imaginary and they're very best friends.
Yes. And I think the point is that we as adults need to have an open mind and an open heart. Because, like you were saying, we tend to poo poo when a child says, well, I'm talking to my imaginary friend. And, as we grow older, we can't see the imaginary friend like the little kids can. But unless we really open our hearts and our minds to it. And I think it's to stay open to possibilities because, it sounds like when an adult hears this, they're like, oh no, like Jimmy is just talking with his imagination. He's got this great imagination. He must have seen that on TV and learned that from TV or, um, learned it from a comic book or something like that. And, you know, there may be influences from that, but also keep an open mind that, these are things that may be happening to your child, and it's okay that you don't have to, it's not like you have to get a doctor for them or anything like that. It's just stay open to it, because children are so, they're magical. They are so full of so much magic that they are born with, that we as adults tend to forget, because society puts us in these different silos and different situations where we're told you can't have that imagination. Or um I remember when I was a kid, I used to draw a lot, and I used to draw very, very abstract things. And I don't know what it was, but I would always draw abstract, and I couldn't. I still can't draw very perfect. Like, if they say draw a house, I could only create the little stick houses and things like that. But when I was a kid and they say draw a house, I would be like all swirlies and all this and that, and it was very abstract. And I think those were things that I was getting from memory, from maybe, it could have been a past life. Who knows, right? We don't know these things for sure. But, and I remember my uncle saying, wow, that's pretty artistic. And I love the way you use your colors and things like that. And the fact that I still remember that at age 60, um, that means so much to me, because it was like somebody was accepting what I drew, and it was from me. It wasn't like something I saw on TV, or that I went to see an exhibit at an art gallery or something like that. I think this was even before I went to museums and things like that. So, and the fact that, like you were saying, it gave me confidence, because an adult said, look at that, that's wonderful. And like you were saying, when a child expresses themselves, and no matter what way they do, like if it's through art or they talk about different things, really listen to them, talk to them at the same level. Because I know that children often say that adults treat me, they look down on me, and they treat me like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do know what I'm talking about. And I think that is the respect that we need to give children in a lot of ways. Just respect them. Don't poo-poo them. I remember, gosh, this was years ago, and I remember I was talking to some child, and we would talk, and I would be like, okay, and I would listen and just talk to them, right? And I remember that she told her mother, the reason I like her, Yayoi, the reason I like her is because she listens to me and talks to me, and she doesn't look down on me. And I think that is what, we're talking about, is that listen, and really respect children, because they have so much wisdom. And, like,
Mm.
even with, I always say this, but especially when dealing with, food and people's relationship with food, like I specialize in, a lot of people lose touch with their bodies, and they stop listening to it, because, they used to listen to it all the time when they were children, yet they stopped listening to what the body is telling you. And the body holds so much wisdom, and we forget that. And it also holds a lot of trauma that we experienced as children as well. So we need to start listening to that and seeing. Thank you for watching, Alexandra. Oh, I'm so. Oh, wow! I can't believe that you're on here. I'm sorry. This is an old friend of mine, but it's really about listening to the body. And just, even if you take a bite of something, actually taste it instead of just eating it, because we become so immune to just doing things automatically, that we forget the joys of things as well. And children still believe in that joy. And I love the fact that you're creating this encyclopedia for kids so that they can be back in touch with who they really are. And
Well,
yes,
you said that um, you drew these abstract drawings, and you
yes,
didn't know for sure if that was from a past lifetime, but you can know everything
you're
for
right. Yes,
sure
yes,
because there's a technique that people can help you with that show you how to get answers
yes,
from your spiritual helpers, your guardian angels, your masters, your ascended masters, your
yes,
um, helpers, your
yes,
spiritual guides, and you can check with them and ask them everything. And so that's the thing that saved my life was
yes,
learning how to do
yes,
that so I can get my answers and know for sure. And I have a website. It's
yes,
Sandra Adler.com,
mhm,
SANDRA
yes,
ADLER.com.
yes,
And on my website, you can read all of
yes,
my 12 books. The Spiritual Encyclopedia for Children,
yes,
Me and My Universe. You can find out all about the spiritual consultations that I do. You can see all my paintings that I
yes,
have
yes,
on the website. You can find out everything about me. And also, if you leave your email address there, I will contact you and by email
yes,
and find out how I can be of service to you
yes,
because I just want to help people to have inner peace, have a joy for life,
yes.
do what they love to do and love what they're doing and doing what they love and just
Being who,
enjoying life.
yes, yes,
I'm 83 now. It took me till I say life begins at 80 because after I turned 80, everything good started happening to me. And it's never too late to enjoy
I
life
agree.
to the fullest.
Yes, I totally agree. And yes, let me just answer a question that somebody posted. Yes, this will be recorded. It'll be on my YouTube channel, and I will put a link also in LinkedIn and Facebook. So please definitely listen to the recording of this later. And so yes, it's really true that Sandra's website. Go to that, check her out, and her teachings on her. She's been a spiritual teacher for 47 years, I think you said.
48
Okay,
now.
48. Oh, okay, 48 years. So that's a long time. And I'm sure you've learned so much. And, that, and I think it's such a joy that we get to speak to you and find out from your knowledge, from your experiences, because we tend to forget that, people have lived life. I mean, yes, I'm 60, but I but I've lived my life up to this point, and I've had my shares as well. And people have gotten it's I mean, to grow older is such a privilege that we have, and to grow old with knowledge and to stay healthy is such a privilege. And there's something to be said about aging, to be said about learning, going through everything that we went through to get to where we are. And, I think it's important that people listen to a variety of people, because, like I always say with, weight loss or even with brain to belly, is that one size doesn't fit all. Everyone has different things that are going to work for you. And of course, because you're different, your experiences are different from my experiences.
But what
Everyone's
is true,
different. Yes, go ahead.
but what is true is that children
Yes,
learn from
yes,
what they see,
yes,
not what we tell them. So
exactly.
they are copying their parents and their teachers and other what they see, and so
Yes,
whatever happens to them, they pass it on when they grow up to their
Yes.
children.
Yes.
So if anything bad happens to them, they start doing the same bad things. And so it's important to
Yes.
be a good example.
Yes.
And one of the things that I wanted to get across is because of the violence that we see in our world today and the violence that the kids are being
Exposed to.
subjected to,
Yes.
um, when you hit a child, when you spank a child, you are teaching them that violence is the solution. Violence is the answer. So they're going to grow up and hit their children or other people.
Yes.
And so that is really not the answer. The answer is listening and talking it out and figuring out a solution. And so, um, if we don't want violence in the future, we have to stop
Yes.
violating our children today.
Yes.
And that all happened to me because I was beat daily by my mother. She was a sick person and she was violent. I know she was doing the best she knew how, and I knew that it had happened to her as a child.
Yes.
But when I started teaching school, my first reaction was I was going to hit somebody. And I stopped myself and said, "Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. Teachers can't hit the kids." And so that's when I had to start thinking about all of this.
Yes.
And I had to change that, delete that violent program and input a more loving
Loving.
understanding, explaining things and talking things through and all that. So I don't want to be passing on violence.
Yes.
So
It's
everyone can look at things that they do
yes.
that they don't like to do and then they're not happy with, and they can change
Yes.
because
Definitely.
all we have to do is make a decision and change
Yes.
and decide what we're going to change it to because we have free will.
Yes. Yes. Very much so. And it can be, it's like just with deleting a program and putting a new program in. Sometimes it takes a little while to do it. So,
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got to put a little effort into it, but it can be done. And it's like you said, children. So be the example for children, whether it's with food, with violence, with anything. So I think those are some things that we need to address. And Sandra, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. And it went by very quickly. So you were saying that people can reach you at sandraadler.com. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yes. And
yes.
they can find you,
If they put their email address in where it says to do that, I will
reach out to them.
reach out to them through their email. Yes.
Yes. So, yes, if
And
you, hmm go ahead.
well, one more thing I was going to say about I've been on every diet on planet Earth for all of my life, and I've lost 100 pounds of Weight Watchers, 100 pounds of Nutrisystem, 100 pounds of Overeaters Anonymous, and
Yes.
gained it all back and more. So, and now I'm currently on the carnivore diet,
Yes.
where I'm only eating protein, just meat, and I've lost 60 pounds and I'm feeling like a young person again. I don't feel like I'm
Yes.
83. I feel young.
Yay. So that's also a testament to one size doesn't fit all. So you have to find what's going to work for you. It's true. And to reach Sandra, please go to her website, sandraadler.com. And thank you very much for being here today. And just want to say this show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And thank you.
Muchas